So not too long ago, Nikon released the teleconverters for the Z mount lenses, and the one that really interested me was the 2X. So that's what I have here, the 2X teleconverter. Now, this is not a cheap purchase. Even if you're a pro and you're on a budget and all that, this is still going to take a little chunk out of your budget. This is almost $600, so it's not a purchase to make lightly. I didn't make it lightly, but I did take a chance and make it. So I want to see if I can maybe help you out a little bit if you're on the fence, especially if you don't really have a whole lot of budget for equipment. This is, again, no small purchase. So let me give you my initial thoughts. Number one, unlike the F-mount teleconverter, it doesn't make any noise. It doesn't have that little lever in there that to work the old lenses. So that's a nice plus. Doesn't make any noise. But size-wise, it's about the same. Of course, it is Z-mount, not F-mount. It is strictly Z-mount. So you can't use it in combination with any of the old glass. So this is only for your mirrorless body and your Z-mount lenses. My experience with the F-mount 2.0 teleconverter is that it's better than not getting the shot, but you are going to sacrifice a little bit of sharpness, and you're obviously going to sacrifice a whole lot of light. 2 stops. So this one, obviously the light factor is the same. Nothing's going to change there. So you're still going to give up 2 stops of light with this 2X teleconverter. But the only lens that I have that this will work with is the 70-200 Z-mount Nikkor lens. And with that lens, it's a 2.8. So I can still shoot at 5.6 at 400 millimeters. So I was interested, and I thought it was worth taking a chance. So if you're thinking about this lens, which is not cheap, you're talking about spending almost $600. So it's not a purchase most people are going to make lightly. Let me see if I can help you out with a little bit of information. The best way to tell you about a teleconverter is just to show you the results of using it. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I am not the kind of guy to do laboratory experiments with all kinds of fancy charts and, incredibly detailed specifications and all that kind of stuff. That, there's a place for that, and I will look at that information myself when I'm making a purchase decision. But what I'm more interested in most of the time is let me see the result of the product. Let me see what it can do. So I'm going to show you a few test shots, and we'll go through what those are and just give you an idea where you can see exactly how I shot them and make some, decisions for yourself as far as what you think the quality is like. And then I will show you some more images and some video that were shot with the 2X and the 70-200 on the Z6 II. So that was the equipment. Okay, here are a few examples of the 2x teleconverter doing some test shots. And I did these outdoors just in my backyard on a pretty overcast day, which is actually pretty good because that gave me nice even light and we didn't have any shadows or bright sunlight or glare to influence the way the images look. So let's just look at a few of these, or maybe all of these, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing. So I've got the loop data turned on. You can see the information as far as how it was shot. This one was shot at 400 millimeters, so with the 2x teleconverter on the 70-210 lens fully extended. And it was shot at f6.3 with an ISO value of 200, so nice low ISO number. And you can still see just a little bit of noise. Let that render a second, and actually, now right here, kind of in the middle of one of these pickets, is a tiny little gnat. Now it's not tack sharp, but you can identify it. You can see what it is. It's a very little gnat. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all for a teleconverter. And in general, the detail looks really good. When I first looked at this, I thought maybe, oh no, I got a little ghosting or something going on here on these pickets. No, that's just the actual side of the picket because they are three-dimensional. All right, so there's that one. All right, then of course my dog gets to be the subject a lot of times. And he makes a good subject. He's very patient. Of course, he has some health problems and mobility issues and can't get it out of my way or run away from me, so he's kind of a captive subject. Okay, so same thing here. We've got the lens all the way zoomed, giving us 400 millimeters with the 2x converter, also ISO 200, 1/80th of a second. So shooting relatively slow shutter speeds, but getting nice detail. See the eyes, the fur. That is extremely acceptable detail for me. Your mileage may vary. I am perfectly okay with that level of detail for this kind of a shot, for sure. All right, and then another picture. This one is at 2/50th of a second, so raise the ISO a little bit to 800 to give me a faster shutter speed, and I'm at 5.6 on this. So that is wide open because you got a 2.8 native lens with a 2x converter on it. So 5.6 is the widest aperture you're going to get with the converter on this lens. It's actually nice that the metadata up here really actually shows the TX 2.0. Again, very sharp. And again, it's fully zoomed in. Come back a little bit. Faster yet, and I raised the ISO even more because I wanted to see what it was going to do with noise and how it was going to handle different shutter speeds. So 1/1000th of a second at f5.6, ISO value of 3200, and you would expect to start seeing some noise, and you see it in the eyes more than anything. Of course, hair and fur is going to hide that noise quite a bit, but you can see it in his eye. A little bit of noise, but that is not bad at all. Certainly acceptable when you don't blow it way up. Okay, I'm not so much of a chart kind of guy, but this is my substitute for that. So this is my shed door. I thought we had enough detail and enough contrast and texture here to make this a good shot. So some distance back from it at 400 millimeters, 1/80th of a second, f5.6 at 1000 ISO. And you can see that that looks nice, looks very nice and sharp. But if we zoom in, you can really see the detail here on the door. You can see the paint, you see the texture on the paint. And go up here, you see right there we've got a lot of different things going on as far as color and texture, contrast. Very good detail. And you can see a little bit of noise here in the darker areas, to be expected at 1000 ISO, but again, very acceptable. All right, these three shots are, I thought, made an interesting test. So this is a section of the siding where the part where the mouse is hovering right now sticks out closer to us by about maybe 18 inches or so than the rest of the house. And you can see that it looks like it's a different color. It's not a different color, it's just a different distance. So the light's hitting it different because of the distance. So when we zoom in, what we see is we've got sharpness here. This is where I was focused. And then back here, we're, again, about roughly 18 inches further away, so we can see that fall off. Gives us a little bit of an idea of the depth of field and what that looks like. This is at 140 millimeters, so this is the lens itself set at the 70 millimeter lowest setting on the zoom with the TC 2.0, obviously, bringing it to 140. f8 is the aperture, and ISO is 1000, and it's shot at 1/60th of a second. So again, advantage of doing it on a overcast day is that we don't have any harsh light or shadows to deal with here. All right, so there's that one. The next one, I try to do a small, medium, and large, if you will. So this next one is mid-range on the lens. So this is the lens zoomed into 270 millimeters with the converter. Still at f8, still at ISO 1000 and 1/60th of a second. But this is about half, the lens about halfway cranked up on the zoom. You see the little bugs here caught in the cobweb in the corner. But nice detail. And you can see that fall off for the depth of field becomes a little bit more pronounced. And then we go to the last one. This is at 400 millimeter. All the other settings are the same. And I'm not really noticing a difference in sharpness. I think the sharpness remains pretty well throughout the focal length of the zoom lens. And then, of course, over here, you can see that now it's really fallen off. So your depth of field, you notice, I think, more quickly than sharpness, which is kind of nice. That's what you would expect. That's kind of what I would want. You can start to get those blown backgrounds like you would want to have when you're shooting at 400 millimeters. All right, so after I was done in the backyard, I wanted to venture out a little further and take some real pictures if I could with this same exact setup. Camera Z6 II, lens Z 70-200 2.8, and the 2x teleconverter for the Z mount. The only real complaint I have about this teleconverter is it comes with this little cheap piece of cloth that's a pouch, sort of a pouch. And it doesn't even close, like there's no Velcro on it to close it or anything like that. There's no drawstring. It's just a fold over. It's a pouch that you fold a flap over. I'm very underwhelmed by that. So I would, for my $600, I would like to see a proper little case to put this in so that I don't have to rely on all the padding in the bag to protect it. So I went to one of my favorite places, a nearby wildlife refuge, where usually there are subjects to shoot, and this day was no exception. So I used the 2X exclusively on this camera on that day. Everything I shot with the 2X converter attached. And I shot a lot of video and I shot a lot of stills. So I'm just going to show you those and let you determine whether or not you think this stuff looks good. I think it does. I'm going to tell you that I think the quality of this teleconverter is very surprising to me. It's very good, has really good sharpness. Its autofocus I found to be very fast using it. It didn't seem to have any problem at all with that. I mean, if you've already got the 70-200, now you've got a 140-400, and that is a substantial tool to have in your bag when it's only this big. And, you know, for under $600, with the quality that I believe this has, I think it's a smart purchase. So I think if you're a mirrorless Nikon shooter and you're embracing the Z mount lenses, especially if you've already got the 70-200, this is, I'm not going to say a no-brainer because $600 is not cheap, but I think this is something you want to look at. It makes good sense to me to have this in my camera bag. Probably makes good sense to you too. I'm going to leave you with video and some stills that I shot and just let you look at those for a few minutes as this video plays out. I'm done talking. Thanks for watching. I would appreciate it if you would like, this video and subscribe to my channel if you don't already. And you probably don't because there aren't too many. This is a brand new channel. I'm trying to get it off the ground, and you could really help me by doing that.